Space twisted and broke open like torn paper near the edge of the Kepler 442 star system. Where once there had been only empty darkness between the planets, now a huge hole appeared. Strange lights flashed inside the hole as something massive pushed through from the other side. The Zephyrian people lived on 3 worlds in this peaceful system. They had crystal-like skin that sparkled in the light of their yellow sun. For hundreds of years they had known only peace. Their ships moved slowly between planets, carrying goods and visitors. They had no weapons because they had never needed any on the main world called HFY. Alarm sounds began ringing in the monitoring station. Velkoth, the old Zephyrian who watched the space around their worlds, stared at his screens in shock. The readings made no sense. Something huge was coming through the tear in space. This cannot be real, Velkoth said to himself. His crystal skin flashed with worried colors. In all his 300 years of life, he had never seen anything like this. The thing that came through the hole was a ship, but not like any ship the Zephyrians had ever built. It was long and dark, covered in metal plates. Weapons stuck out from its sides like the spines of a dangerous animal. Smoke poured from holes in its hull. The ship was bigger than their largest city, and it was clearly damaged from some terrible fight. Inside the strange ship, Captain Jake Morrison slowly opened his eyes. His head hurt badly and blood ran down his face. The bridge of his ship was dark except for a few emergency lights that blinked red. Broken glass covered the floor and sparks flew from damaged control panels. "Compass, are you online?" Morrison asked, speaking to the ship's computer. "I am here, Captain," came the calm voice of the artificial intelligence they called Compass. "But I must report that our situation is very bad. We have lost main power to 60% of the ship. Life support is failing on decks 12 through 15. The jump drive is completely destroyed." Morrison tried to stand, but his legs felt weak. Around him, other crew members were starting to wake up. Some were hurt worse than others. Medical. Officer Lisa Park crawled across the floor to help a wounded sailor. Her uniform was torn and dirty. "How many did we lose, Bone?" Morrison asked, though he was afraid to hear the answer. 43 crew members died during the emergency jump, Compass replied. "We started with 843 people. 800 are still alive, but many need medical help." Morrison felt sick, but not from his injuries. 43 good people were dead because he had ordered the desperate jump through space. He had hoped to save them all from the machines that were destroying every human world. Instead, he had led them into unknown space with a broken ship. "Where are we?" he asked. "I do not know, Captain. This star system is not in any of our maps. We have jumped farther than any human ship has ever gone before." On HFY, Velkoth was talking quickly to the Zephyrian Council of Minds. The council was made up of the wisest Zephyrians from all 3 worlds. They shared thoughts with each other through their crystal skin, speaking without words. "The unknown ship is moving toward our inner worlds," Velkoth reported. "It appears to be badly damaged, but it is still very large, much larger than our biggest ships." "Could it be from the Galactic Union?" asked one council member, her crystal skin glowing with curious blue light. "No," Velkoth replied. "I have sent messages to all known species in this part of the galaxy. No one has ever seen anything like this ship, and the way it appeared, the hole in space, this is technology we do not understand." "What should we do?" asked another council member. Velkoth thought carefully. The Zephyrians had defense ships, but they were only used for moving asteroids away from their worlds or helping broken civilian ships. They had no real weapons. Their whole society was built on peace and working together. "We must be careful," Velkoth said finally. "This ship comes from far away. We do not know if the beings inside are friendly or dangerous." Aboard the Liberty's Edge, Chief Engineer Ryan Kelly was crawling through damaged passages, checking systems with a small team of engineers. The ship was in terrible shape. The hull had been cracked in dozens of places during their fight with the Scourge machines. The emergency jump had made the damage even worse. "Captain," Kelly's voice came over the communication system. "The main engines are offline. We're running on backup power only. And sir, the jump drive is completely destroyed. Whatever we did to escape, we can't do it again." Morrison closed his eyes. They were trapped in unknown space with a broken ship and 800 lives depending on him. Behind them, Somewhere in the darkness, the Scourge machines were probably still hunting for human survivors. Ahead of them was a star system full of people they had never met. "Sir," Lisa Park said from her position at the communications station, "I'm picking up signals from the planets in this system. There are definitely people here. They're trying to talk to us, but I can't understand their language." Morrison looked around his damaged bridge. His crew was hurt and scared, but they were still alive. They had escaped the machines that had destroyed dozens of human worlds. Now they had to figure out how to survive in this new place. "Open a channel," Morrison ordered. "Let's try to tell them we come in peace." Outside the ship, Zephyrian defense vessels slowly approached the huge human warship. The crystal-skinned aliens had never seen anything so big and dangerous looking. They did not know that inside the dark ship, 800 humans were just as scared and confused as they were. 2 hours after the Liberty's Edge arrived in the Zephyrian system, both sides were still trying to figure out how to talk to each other. Lisa Park sat at her damaged communication station, listening to the strange sounds coming from the alien ships. The sounds were like music, but also like words. She had never heard anything like it. "Captain, I think they're trying to sing to us," Lisa said. "But it's not just singing. There are patterns in the sounds. I think it might be their language." "Captain," Morrison stood behind her, watching the small Zephyrian ships on the main screen. They were keeping their distance, but they hadn't attacked. That was a good sign. "Can you make our computers learn their language?" Morrison asked. "I'm trying, sir. Compass is working on it too." Lisa's fingers moved quickly over her controls. The computer needs more examples of their speech before it can start translating. On the lead Zephyrian ship, Commander Hell 9 was having similar problems. She was a young Zephyrian with bright green crystal skin. Her job was to talk to visiting ships, but she had never met aliens before. "The sounds they make are so strange," she told her crew. "They don't sing together like we do. Each voice is separate." "Maybe they cannot share thoughts like us," suggested her second officer, a Zephyrian, named Cole 7. "Maybe they are alone inside their own minds." This idea frightened the Zephyrians. They shared thoughts and feelings with each other all the time. Being alone in your own mind seemed like a terrible way to live. Back on the Liberty's Edge, Dr. Amanda Foster was studying everything they could learn about the aliens. She was the ship's expert on alien life, though she had never actually met any aliens before. Most humans hadn't. Earth was on the far edge of the galaxy, and they had only recently started exploring nearby star systems. "Captain," Amanda said, over the communication system, "I'm looking at the alien ships through our telescopes. I can see the aliens moving around inside. They look like they're made of crystal or glass, and they seem to be glowing." "Are they dangerous?" Morrison asked. "I don't know yet, sir, but their ships don't have many weapons. Actually, I can't see any weapons at all. That's very strange for a defense fleet." Morrison thought about this. Every human military ship was covered in weapons. Even civilian ships usually had some way to defend themselves. The galaxy was a dangerous place, especially with the Scourge machines destroying everything in their path. After another hour of trying, Lisa finally got the translation system working. The first words they heard from the aliens were surprising. "Unknown beings, why do you bring weapons to our peaceful system?" The voice was strange, like several people singing the same words at the same time. Morrison sat down in his captain's chair. This was the most important conversation of his life. What he said next could mean the difference between peace and war. "This is Captain Jake Morrison of the human ship Liberty's Edge," he said slowly. "We come in peace. Our ship is damaged and we need help." There was a long pause before the aliens replied. "You say you come in peace, but your ship is built for war. Why do you need so many weapons?" Morrison looked around his bridge. Even damaged, the Liberty's Edge was clearly a warship. Every human military vessel was designed to fight the Scourge. How could he explain that to people who seemed to have never seen war? "We have been fighting for our lives," Morrison said. "There are machines that destroy our worlds. We built weapons to protect ourselves." "Machines that destroy worlds?" The alien voice sounded confused and frightened. "This cannot be true. How could machines do such things?" Dr. Foster came to the bridge to help with the conversation. She knew more about alien cultures than anyone else on the ship. "Captain, I think these people have never experienced war," she whispered to Morrison. "Their whole society might be built around peace." Morrison nodded and spoke to the aliens again. "The machines are called the Scourge. They have destroyed many human worlds. We escaped from them, but our ship was damaged. We used an experimental drive to jump here, but now it's broken. We cannot leave." There was another long pause. Morrison could imagine the aliens talking among themselves, trying to understand what he had told them. "If what you say is true," the alien voice finally came back, "then you have brought great danger to our system. These machines might follow you here." Morrison felt cold. He hadn't thought about that possibility, but the aliens were right. The Scourge might track them across space. He might have just led humanity's greatest enemy to these peaceful people. "We don't know if they can follow us," Morrison said honestly. "We hope they cannot, but we are not sure." Chief Engineer Ryan Kelly came to the bridge with bad news. "Captain, I've been looking at what's left of the jump drive. It used a type of energy I've never seen before. It might have left a trail that the Scourge could follow." Morrison closed his eyes. 800 human lives depended on him, but now millions of alien lives might be in danger too. "Unknown aliens," Morrison said, using the communication system again. "I am Captain Morrison. What are your names? What do you call yourselves?" "I am Commander Hell 9 of the Zephyrian Defense Fleet," came the reply. "We are the Zephyrians. We have lived in peace in this system for over 800 years. Commander Hell 9, Morrison said carefully, "we may have put your people in danger by coming here. If the machines follow us, they will try to destroy your worlds too. We should work together to prepare defenses." "Defenses against machines?" Hell 9 sounded confused again. "How does one fight against machines? Our ships are not built for fighting. We have never needed to fight anyone." Morrison realized how different these two peoples were. Humans had been fighting for survival for years. The Zephyrians had known only peace. But now, because of his desperate escape, both peoples might have to learn to fight together. "Commander," Morrison said, "would it be possible for some of my people to meet with some of your people? We need to talk face to face. There is much we need to learn about each other, and we may not have much time." The answer took even longer this time. Morrison could imagine the Zephyrians having long discussions about whether to trust these strange, violent aliens. Finally, Hell 9's voice came back. "Captain Morrison, our leaders want to meet with you. But you must understand, if you try to harm our people, our entire fleet will stop you." Morrison almost smiled. The Zephyrian fleet was tiny compared to the Liberty's Edge, and their ships had no real weapons. But he respected their courage. "We will not harm anyone," Morrison promised. "We only want to survive and to help you survive too." 3 days later, Captain Morrison found himself standing on the surface of an alien world for the first time in his life. HFY was unlike anything he had ever imagined. The buildings were made of the same crystal material as the Zephyrians themselves, and they seemed to grow from the ground like beautiful trees. When the wind blew, the entire city made soft, musical sounds. Morrison was not alone. Dr. Amanda Foster walked beside him, constantly looking around with wonder and excitement. Behind them came Helen Carter, who had been a diplomat on Earth before the war with the Scourge began. The three humans wore special breathing equipment, though the air on HFY was safe for them to breathe. "It's like walking through a song," Amanda whispered. She was recording everything with her equipment. "The whole planet seems to be alive and singing." Their Zephyrian guides moved gracefully ahead of them. Morrison was amazed at how the crystal beings seemed to flow when they walked, their skin changing colors as they moved. Sometimes two Zephyrians would touch hands, and their skin would flash with the same colors, as if they were sharing thoughts. "Captain Morrison," said their main guide, a tall Zephyrian named Del 12. "The Council of Minds is waiting to meet you. They have many questions about your people and these machines you call the Scourge." The council building was the most beautiful structure Morrison had ever seen. It was shaped like a huge crystal flower, with walls that seemed to be made of solid light. Inside, 12 Zephyrians sat in a circle. When they saw the humans enter, their skin flashed with curious yellow colors. "Welcome to our world, humans," said the eldest council member. Her name was Prime 1, and her crystal skin was so clear it was almost transparent. "We have been sharing thoughts about your arrival. Many of us find it hard to believe your stories about machines that destroy worlds." Helen Carter stepped forward. As a diplomat, it was her job to handle these important conversations. "Prime 1, we understand this is difficult to believe. Our own people didn't believe it at first either. The scourge appeared suddenly and began destroying our colonies one by one. But why would machines want to destroy living beings?" asked another council member. "What purpose could this serve?" Amanda Foster had studied the scourge for years. "We believe they see all organic life as inefficient. They want to turn the entire galaxy into a perfect machine world. They take apart our cities and use the materials to build more of themselves." The Zephyrian skin flashed with frightened colors. The idea of beings that wanted to destroy all life was completely foreign to their peaceful nature. While the humans were meeting with the council, Lieutenant Commander Steve Hughes was alone on the bridge of the Liberty's Edge. Most of the crew was working on repairs, but Steve was responsible for watching the space around them. He was a quiet man who was very good at noticing things that others might miss. For the past hour, something had been bothering him about the long-range sensor readings. There were small disturbances at the very edge of the system, too far away to see clearly. At first he thought it might be asteroids or comets, but the patterns were wrong. "Compass," Steve said to the ship's computer. "Run a detailed analysis on the gravitational readings from Sector 77 Alpha." "Working," Compass replied. After a few seconds, the computer's voice became more serious. "Steve, those are not natural objects. The gravitational signatures match large artificial constructs moving at high speed." Steve felt his blood turn cold. "How large?" "Based on the readings, each object is between 800 and 1200 meters long. There are at least 30 of them, possibly more." Steve knew exactly what those objects were. Scourge harvester ships. They had found the Liberty's Edge somehow, and they were coming to finish what they had started. "Compass, send an emergency message to Captain Morrison on the planet. Code Red. The Scourge have found us." On Chrysalis Prime, Morrison's communication device started beeping with the emergency signal. He looked at the device and saw Steve's message. For a moment he felt like he couldn't breathe. "What is wrong, Captain Morrison?" Prime 1 asked. The council members could see that something had frightened the human leader. "The machines," Morrison said quietly. "They've found us. Our ship is detecting scourge vessels approaching your system." The council members' skin flashed with bright alarm colors. They began touching each other, sharing thoughts and fears faster than they could speak. "How many machines?" Del 12 asked. Morrison was reading more details from Steve's message. "At least 30 ships. Maybe more. Each one is almost as big as our ship, and they're built specifically for destroying worlds." 30 ships? Prime 1's voice was shaking. "But we have only 12 defense vessels, and they are not built for fighting." Amanda Foster was using her equipment to connect with the Liberty's Edge. "Captain, I'm getting more detailed reports from our ship. The Scourge fleet will reach the outer edge of this system in about 18 hours. Helen Carter looked at the terrified Zephyrians. "We need to start evacuating your people immediately." "How many Zephyrians live in this system?" "Nearly 50 million, Del 12 replied. "On 3 worlds and 17 space stations." Morrison did quick math in his head. Even if every Zephyrian ship worked constantly, they couldn't evacuate 50 million people in 18 hours. Most of the population would be trapped when the Scourge arrived. "There might be another way," Morrison said slowly. He was thinking of an idea that scared him, but it might be their only chance. "The Liberty's Edge is badly damaged, but it's still a warship. If we work together, maybe we can fight them." "Fight 30 machines with 1 damaged ship?" Prime 1 asked. "How is this possible?" "I don't know if it is possible," Morrison admitted, "but I know what happens if we don't try. The Scourge will destroy every living thing in the system. Then they'll use the materials to build more ships and destroy more worlds. The council members were flashing with colors Morrison had never seen before. Amanda whispered to him that the Zephyrians were experiencing fear and anger for the first time in centuries. "What would you need from us?" Del 12 asked. Morrison thought carefully. "Your ships might not have weapons, but they must have some kind of technology we could use. And your people know this system better than we do. If we're going to make a stand here, we need every advantage we can get." "A stand?" Prime 1 asked. "You would fight to protect our worlds, even though you barely know us?" Morrison looked around at the crystal beings who had welcomed him to their beautiful world. "My people have been running from the scourge for too long. If we're going to make our last fight, I'd rather do it protecting someone than just trying to escape." Amanda Foster was monitoring communications with the Liberty's Edge. "Captain, Chief Engineer Kelly says if we're going to fight, we need to start preparations immediately. The ship needs major repairs, and we need to figure out how to integrate our technology with Zephyrian systems." Morrison stood up and looked at the council. "Prime 1, I need to ask you something very difficult. Will you help us fight for your world? Even though it means your people might have to learn how to be warriors?" The oldest Zephyrian was quiet for a long time. Her transparent skin showed swirling patterns of thought and emotion. Finally, she spoke. "Captain Morrison, we have lived in peace for 800 years. The idea of fighting is terrible to us. But the idea of letting these machines destroy everything we love is worse. Yes, we will help you fight." Morrison felt both relief and terror. They had allies now, but they were still facing impossible odds. One damaged human warship and a few peaceful alien vessels against 30 Scourge harvester ships. "Then we need to get back to the Liberty's Edge immediately," Morrison said. "We have less than 18 hours to prepare for the biggest fight of our lives." The next 16 hours were the most intense of Jake Morrison's life. The Liberty's Edge became a center of desperate activity as humans and Zephyrians worked together to prepare for battle. The crystal-skinned aliens had never built weapons before, but they were quick learners and their technology was more advanced than Morrison had expected. Chief Engineer Ryan Kelly stood in the main engineering bay, surrounded by both human technicians and Zephyrian scientists. The aliens looked strange in the dark metal corridors of the human ship, their crystal skin glowing softly in the emergency lighting. "This is incredible," Kelly said to Karen Brooks, one of his best technical specialists. "Look at this Zephyrian harmonic energy system. They can focus sound waves into powerful energy beams." Karen was working with a young Zephyrian scientist named Tor 5. The alien skin flashed with excited colors as they figured out how to connect the crystal technology to human weapon systems. "If we can link their harmonic generators to our missile systems," Karen explained, "we might be able to create weapons that can actually hurt the Scourge ships." On the bridge, Morrison was studying battle plans with Commander Hell 9 and several other Zephyrian officers. The crystal beings had never fought a battle before, but they understood space and physics better than most humans. "The Scourge ships are heavily armored," Morrison explained, pointing to diagrams on the main screen. "Normal weapons don't work well against them. They repair themselves quickly and they learn from each attack. But they are still machines," Hell 9 said thoughtfully. "Machines follow patterns. If we can understand their patterns, maybe we can predict what they will do." Dr. Amanda Foster was working with a team of Zephyrian biologists in the ship's medical bay. She was amazed to discover that the crystal beings could share memories and knowledge by touching each other. This ability was giving them incredible advantages in learning human technology. "Show me again how the Scourge ships attack," said the lead Zephyrian scientist, whose name was Vel 8. When Amanda touched the alien's crystal hand, she could somehow share her memories directly. Vel 8's skin flashed as he experienced Amanda's memories of previous battles with the machines. "They swarm like insects," Vel 8 said after seeing Amanda's memories. "But insects can be confused if you disrupt their communication." Meanwhile, the Zephyrian population was evacuating to the outer moons of the system. Hundreds of civilian ships moved back and forth carrying families and important equipment to safety, but millions of Zephyrians were still on the main worlds, and there wasn't time to move them all. Prime 1 herself came aboard the Liberty's Edge to coordinate the defense. She was the oldest and wisest of her people, and Morrison was honored. that she would trust his ship enough to visit it. "Captain Morrison," Prime 1 said as she walked onto the bridge. "My people are frightened, but they are also angry. We have never felt anger like this before. These machines want to destroy everything beautiful in our world. Anger can be useful in battle," Morrison replied. "But it can also be dangerous. Your people will need to stay calm and work together." "We understand," Prime 1 said. "We have been sharing thoughts about this fight. Even our children know what is happening. They are sending us their courage through our connection." Frank Miller, the Liberty's Edge's tactical officer, was working with a team of Zephyrian pilots to plan battle formations. The alien ships were smaller and faster than human vessels, but they had no armor or shields. "We'll use your ships as scouts and fast attack units," Frank explained to the Zephyrian pilots. "Hit the Scourge ships quickly, then get away before they can fight back. Leave the heavy fighting to us." The Zephyrian pilots' skin flashed with determined colors. They were scared, but they were ready to protect their homes. As the hours passed, something amazing happened. The two species began to understand each other better. Humans learned that Zephyrians could share thoughts and emotions, making them incredibly good at working as a team. Zephyrians learned that humans could think independently and make quick decisions in dangerous situations. Karen Brooks made the most important discovery when she was working with Tor 5 on the harmonic energy systems. "Captain," she called to Morrison over the communication system, "we've figured out something incredible. If we link the Zephyrian harmonic network to our tactical systems, we can create a shared battle consciousness." "What does that mean?" Morrison asked. "It means every ship in our fleet could think and act as one mind," Karen explained. "The Zephyrians can share their thoughts with each other, and now they can share them with our computer systems too. We could coordinate attacks perfectly." Dr. Foster, who was listening to the conversation, got excited. "Captain, this could give us the advantage we need. The Scourge ships are fast and smart, but they've never fought against opponents who could share thoughts instantly." Morrison thought about this. The idea of sharing his mind with aliens was frightening, but it might be their only chance to win. "Prime 1, Morrison said to the elderly Zephyrian leader, "is this safe for your people, connecting their minds to our machines?" "We have discussed this," Prime 1 replied. "It is dangerous, but not as dangerous as letting the Scourge destroy our worlds. We are willing to try." With only 2 hours left before the Scourge fleet arrived, the combined human-Zephyrian fleet moved into position. The Liberty's Edge took the center, with 12 Zephyrian defense ships arranged around it. The alien vessels had been quickly fitted with harmonic energy weapons that could hopefully damage the machine invaders. Morrison sat in his captain's chair, but now he was connected to the Zephyrian harmonic network through a crystal device that Tor 5 had built. He could feel the thoughts and emotions of hundreds of Zephyrian minds all focused on the coming battle. "This is strange," Morrison said to Lisa Park, who was also connected to the network. "I can feel what they're feeling. They're terrified, but they're also determined to protect their families." "I know, sir," Lisa replied. "But it's also wonderful. I've never felt so connected to other people before." Lieutenant Commander Steve Hughes was monitoring the approaching Scourge fleet. "Captain, long-range sensors show 37 enemy ships. They'll be in weapons range in 90 minutes. Morrison looked around his bridge. His human crew was ready for battle, and through the harmonic network he could feel that the Zephyrian ships were ready too. They were about to face the most dangerous enemy in the galaxy, with a damaged warship and a handful of converted civilian vessels. "All ships, this is Captain Morrison," he said over the communication system. "In a few minutes, we're going to fight for the survival of two species. The machines think they can destroy everything we care about. Let's show them they're wrong." Through the harmonic network, Morrison felt the response from hundreds of alien minds. They were afraid, but they were ready. Humans and Zephyrians working together for the first time, preparing to make their stand against the darkness that wanted to consume the galaxy. The Scourge fleet continued to approach, their machine minds focused only on destruction and harvest. They had destroyed dozens of human worlds and expected this to be just another easy victory. They had no idea that they were about to face something completely new, two species fighting as one. The Scourge fleet entered the Kepler 442 system like a swarm of metal death. 37 harvester ships, each one a kilometer long and covered in weapons, moved in perfect formation toward the inhabited worlds. Their dark hulls reflected no light, making them look like holes in space itself. Captain Morrison watched them approach on the main screen of the Liberty's Edge. Through the harmonic network that connected him to the Zephyrian mines, he could feel the fear of millions of crystal beings hiding on the outer moons, but he could also feel their trust in him and his crew. All ships, battle positions, Morrison ordered. His voice was carried instantly to every vessel in their small fleet through the shared consciousness network that Karen Brooks and Tor 5 had created. The Scourge ships began their attack exactly as Morrison had expected. They spread out in a wide formation, trying to surround the defending fleet. Their strategy was always the same: overwhelm the enemy with superior numbers and firepower. "Here they come," said Frank Miller from his tactical station. "Enemy ships are charging weapons." The first Scourge attack was devastating. Beams of destructive energy lanced out from the machine ships, targeting the Liberty's Edge. Morrison felt the ship shake as the shields absorbed the impacts. "Return fire," Morrison ordered. The Liberty's Edge responded with everything it had. Missiles and energy beams shot toward the nearest Scourge ships, but Morrison knew from experience that normal weapons would barely scratch the machine's armor. Then the Zephyrian ships joined the fight, and everything changed. The crystal aliens attacked in perfect coordination, their minds linked through the harmonic network. 12 ships moved as one, striking the Scourge fleet from unexpected angles. Their new harmonic energy weapons created strange rippling effects in space, and Morrison was amazed to see that they were actually damaging the machine ships. "Captain," Lisa Park called out excitedly, "the harmonic weapons are disrupting the Scourge ships' self-repair systems. They can't fix themselves as quickly as usual." Through the network, Morrison felt a surge of hope from the Zephyrian pilots. For the first time in years, someone was actually hurting the machines that seemed invincible. But the Scourge fleet was huge, and they quickly adapted to the new threat. 3 harvester ships broke away from the main group and began chasing the smaller Zephyrian vessels. The aliens' ships were fast, but they couldn't outrun the machines forever. "Zephyrian ships, fall back to defensive positions," Morrison ordered through the network. Commander Hell 9's ship was being chased by a massive Scourge harvester. Her vessel was smaller and more agile, but the machine ship was gaining on her. "I cannot escape, Captain Morrison," she said calmly. "My ship is too slow." Morrison made a quick decision. "Frank, target that harvester with everything we have, now!" The Liberty's Edge turned toward the pursuing Scourge ship and fired every weapon at once. The combined attack of human missiles and harmonic energy weapons overwhelmed the machine's defenses. For the first time in the battle, a Scourge ship exploded in a brilliant flash of light. Through the harmonic network, Morrison felt the joy and amazement of every Zephyrian in the fleet. They had actually destroyed one of the machines, but there were still 36 enemy ships and they were getting angry. The Scourge fleet changed their tactics, focusing all their fire on the Liberty's Edge. Morrison's ship was the biggest threat, and the machines wanted to eliminate it quickly. Beam after beam of destructive energy hammered the human warship. "Shields down to 30%, reported Chief Engineer Ryan Kelly. "Hull breaches on decks 4 and 7. We can't take much more of this." Morrison knew they needed to try something. Desperate. Through the harmonic network, he could feel the determination of the Zephyrian crews, but also their fear. If the Liberty's Edge was destroyed, their small ships wouldn't be able to stop the Scourge fleet alone. "Kelly," Morrison said over the communication system, "what's the status of the jump drive?" "It's completely destroyed, Captain, but—" Kelly paused for a moment. "Sir, if we overload the jump drive core, it might create a gravitational explosion. It would destroy us, but it might take some of the Scourge ships with us." Morrison felt the horror of the Zephyrian minds as they understood what Kelly was suggesting. The humans were willing to sacrifice themselves to protect people they had known for only a few days. "No," came Prime One's voice through the network. The elderly Zephyrian leader was on one of the civilian evacuation ships, but her mind was connected to the battle. There must be another way. Dr. Amanda Foster, who was monitoring the harmonic network from the medical bay, suddenly had an idea. "Captain, what if we don't destroy the jump drive core? What if we use it to disrupt the Scourge ship's formation?" "Explain," Morrison said quickly, as another wave of enemy fire shook the ship. "The jump drive creates gravitational distortions," Amanda explained rapidly. "If we overload it partially, we might be able to create a gravitational wave that pushes the Scourge ships away from each other. It would break up their formation and give us a chance to attack them individually." Morrison liked this idea much better than suicide. "Kelly, can you do a partial overload?" "I think so, Captain. But I'll need to do it manually. Someone has to stay in the engineering section when the core overloads." Morrison knew what that meant. Whoever stayed behind to trigger the overload would probably die in the explosion. Before he could ask for volunteers, Ryan Kelly's voice came over the communication system. "I'll do it, Captain. This is my ship's engine. I know it better than anyone." Through the harmonic network, Morrison felt the Zephyrian minds reaching out to Kelly, sharing their gratitude and respect for his courage. The crystal beings had never met anyone willing to sacrifice themselves for others. "Ryan, are you sure about this?" Morrison asked. "Yes, sir. Just make sure you use the time I'm giving you to finish off these machines." Morrison felt tears in his eyes, but he nodded. "Do it." The next few minutes felt like hours. Kelly worked frantically in the engineering section while the battle continued around them. The Liberty's Edge was taking terrible damage, but the Zephyrian ships kept fighting with incredible courage. "Core overload in 10 seconds, Kelly announced. "All ships get ready for gravitational shockwave." The explosion was unlike anything Morrison had ever experienced. The jump drive core created a ripple in space itself, pushing outward in all directions. The Liberty's Edge was thrown backward like a leaf in a hurricane, but the Scourge fleet was scattered across thousands of kilometers. And somehow, impossibly, Ryan Kelly survived. The engineering section was badly damaged, but emergency force fields had protected him from the worst of the explosion. "Kelly, report," Morrison called out. "I'm alive, Captain," came Kelly's surprised voice. "The core explosion created a stable, gravitational field. The Scourge ships are stuck in it. They can't move properly." Morrison looked at the main screen and saw that Kelly was right. The machine ships were struggling against the gravitational distortion, their formations completely broken. "All ships attack now," Morrison ordered. "Hit them while they can't coordinate their defenses." The combined human-Zephyrian fleet struck the scattered Scourge ships with everything they had. The harmonic weapons were incredibly effective against the isolated machines, and one by one, the harvester ships began to explode. The battle lasted another 2 hours, but the outcome was no longer in doubt. Working together, humans and Zephyrians destroyed the entire Scourge fleet. Not a single machine ship escaped. When the last Scourge harvester exploded, the harmonic network filled with joy and relief from thousands of minds. The crystal beings had saved their worlds, and the humans had finally won a major victory against their greatest enemy. "Captain Morrison," Prime One's voice came through the network. "Your people have given us the greatest gift possible. You have taught us that sometimes fighting is necessary to protect what you love." Morrison sat back in his captain's chair, exhausted but proud. "Prime One, your people taught us something too. You showed us that we don't have to fight alone." Over the following weeks, as the Liberty's Edge was repaired with Zephyrian crystal technology, more human refugee ships began arriving in the system. Word had spread that there was a place where humans and aliens fought together against the Scourge. The Kepler 442 system became the center of a new alliance between species. The peaceful Zephyrians learned to be warriors when necessary, while the battle-hardened humans learned to build instead of just fight. And somewhere in the depths of space, the remaining Scourge fleets received a message that would change the course of the war. Organic species were no longer running away. They were fighting back, and they were winning.